Yo, what's up? We're back with the A2B series. It's been a very long time since we've dropped a new episode, but we're back. Don't worry, we did not fall off the face of the earth. But just to reiterate on what the A2B series even is, so we created the A2B series to be a treasure trove of knowledge for B2B SaaS go-to-market teams who are at the Series A and Series B stage. But we took some time to think about it and realized that we have brought on some amazing guests who can really help apply more information to companies who are not just at the scale-up phase, but at the growth stage, doing hundreds of millions in ARR, even $1 billion in ARR. So we've had Nick Tippmann, who kicked it off as one of our guests, and we had the incredible Chris Walker, Matthew Winsing, and then today, man, this has been 8 months in the making. We talked at SaaS Stock USA of last year in Austin, and we've been talking about having our special guest on today. So 8 months in the making. I think this is going to be a great one. But Chalique, you got anything to say before we introduce him?
To take accountability, this is completely our fault as to why this didn't happen, and why we've been waiting for so long. But I would say, so today's focus as far as the podcast topic is really around content for companies and just events as a whole, and the way to go about that, again, which is why it's called the A2B series, not just for Series A and Series B companies, but anything around go to market to where you need help getting from A to B, you need questions answered, or certain strategies to be, I guess, talked about. That's what we're here for, and to go into a deeper dive about content before we even really get into it. So when we created the A2B series, we chose to do it in the studio because a lot of companies were doing like the whole Zoom thing, and so the guest we actually have was also played a big influence to the A2B series as far as quality and pretty much a lot of things we do as we just did right before we even started shooting. So I don't know how to even give a proper introduction to this guy.
I think we should let him introduce himself. But ladies and gentlemen, the sales rapper, Zheng.
How's it going, y'all? It's your boy Ding Like a Doorbell, the sales rapper. I rap, and I am in B2B. By the way, gentlemen, I am very jealous of your podcast name because I've been peeped the A2B series, like the name, but hearing the full breakdown of what it stands for.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it's like, we're going series A to B, but then we're getting you from point A to point B.
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah, it was actually, when we came up with the name, this was actually the first name that we came up with.
It was the first one that we pinned down.
Because it was actually, so it was A to B, and then it wasn't until, because you can't now because it's already changed, but when we actually announced it, our LinkedIn post had two separate names on it. Mm-hmm. So mine was like A to B series or something like that, and then when you put it, and I was like, I like that one better, and so I went back and I changed mine. I said, yeah, we're just gonna like stick with that one, because I think if you go back to like episode 1, I think that's when we actually say the actual name.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, we chose to get into the podcast space not only because the B2B space was, I'm not gonna say boring, because it's always gonna be boring in a sense. Talk about go-to-market strategy and how to make money and how to market right and how to do sales. So when we got into it, we're like, okay, well, how can we differentiate? And then the studio was probably a big part. And then now you see people use studios now. I'm not saying that we influenced them, but
I'm not gonna say any names. Yeah. But just to get off that topic, but I would like Ding to just give us a 3-minute synopsis just on how did you get here? How did you become the sales rapper? And just talking a little bit about Event Shark.
Yep, absolutely. So quick introduction. Ding, the sales rapper. When I started out, I was, the story starts really in 2008. I made my first song on Windows Movie Maker, recorded it in Audacity. Shout out to all my old school rappers out here. But what was cool was, this might turn into 30 minutes, but what was cool was guys our age, right? Like we kind of came into the content internet game right when the production and creation process was becoming democratized. Beforehand, you had to have investment, a whole film studio, producers, right? Big budgets to be able to make any type of content. And just like in the time frame, you think about from let's say 2005, right? You had MySpace was blowing up, like, hey, we're customizing our walls and doing HTML codes and put music on your profiles. Like, that's very early example of a personal brand, right? And beforehand, that wasn't necessarily a shared common experience amongst marketers. But we're now in this age where, millennials, Gen Z are proliferating across, the different roles across companies. And everyone's grown up, came up with the concept of you got to represent yourself with a brand online. So let me bring this back to sales rap. What it is I was a rapper for 10 years from 2008 to 2018. Music didn't work out for me. So I graduated. I applied to a bunch of consulting, investment banking jobs, the classic. Got rejected by all of them. I fell into sales. So I did corporate software sales for a few years. And, COVID happened. I lost my job. I went on to LinkedIn to look for new roles. And things weren't popping off for me. So I had to think of a new way to stand out. And that's when I remember, wait a second, Ding, you've been making music and doing video content for a decade plus before all of this. And now you have this sales and B2B experience. Why don't we merge the two here, right? Create something that interrupts the pattern, stands out a bit. It worked out so well for me that companies started reaching out to me. Hey, we liked what you did for yourself. Can we pay you to do this for us? And the rest has evolved from there. Event Shark came out of me going to a lot of events as the sales rapper performing. And then events would happen, things would be lit. And then 2 weeks later, no one remembered anything because none of it was captured. So a lot of it came out of solving problems for myself through marketing, but then realizing that this had a really great fit for the industry as a whole. And here we are today.
So, okay, so you said you started rapping all the way back in 2008, which seems like forever ago.
Yes, sir. Right? Don't remind me.
So when you started rapping in 2008, right, before you dropped your first song, what do you think? Like, what led you up to that point? Because obviously, first you got to have some type of confidence level to even want to drop a song, let alone make a song. Yeah. I've never made a song.
Neither have I.
I mean, I would bet Isaiah has never made a song either. But
that's gonna change because we're
in the studios. He's gonna force us to get into the studio, and we're gonna. So some of our future clients are gonna see us rapping about.
I've been waiting for this. Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. So like, what led you to that point? Like, what made you think, like, hey, I want to be a rapper? Or like, did you just drop a song? And was like, I kind of like it. Let me just keep going.
The crazy thing is, it was, and that's a lot of people have asked that question, and I've thought about it over the years. It was never that deep for me, because like, I remember I recorded my first songs on some Turtle Beach gaming headphones. Yeah. Right. Plug the USB, pull it out from the Xbox, put it in the computer. I'm like, all right, we got sound, we're good. And that was the cool thing of, I was born in '96, so in 2008 I was 12 years old. Right. And that's the advantage of the beauty of youth and ignorance is you don't overthink a lot of shit.
That's true.
Right? Can I curse on this pod?
Yeah.
You're good, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like you don't overthink a lot of stuff. So you're just like, all right, bet. Let me just make a song. And I remember I was always writing poetry and writing raps like my whole life. So getting up to that point, and again, it's 12 years old. You're not like, damn, what are people going to think about?
Yeah.
Am I going to be cringe?
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, is in '08, it was a different time. Yeah. Right. Like kids nowadays, you're on TikTok at 9 years old. Yeah, bro. You're worried about like what everyone in middle school is thinking about you. At the time it was like cool. Like we used to like share songs and play, Bluetooth beats to each other in the lunchroom, bang on the trays, like do beats and do freestyles, right? And
those are the days.
So man, throwback to the old days. So I just and the internet was coming up. Like I was chronically online from a young age. So the old adage, right? Just Google it, figure it out. And a lot of software was free even back then. So I'm like, all right, what's the MVP? What's the minimum viable production that I need?
I like that.
Thank you, sir. That I need to make a song. So I already had lyrics written. I remember I ripped Lil Wayne's "A Milli" instrumental from YouTube.
Everybody did.
Yeah, and I did a little freestyle, man. That was the vibe.
So like, because I don't think it's ironic that, because we know how sales can be. Mm-hmm. So do you think it is like a coincidence that you went from having respectfully an unsuccessful rap career to transitioning into something like sales? Because obviously with both you go through a lot of like adversity and pushback on both of those.
Yeah, going into sales, I didn't that wasn't actually a conscious thought of mine. It wasn't until I had gone into sales and gained some experience where I saw that overlap. You know, I like a lot of sales folks out there, I kind of fell into sales, right? But when I started, and I'd been freestyling at that point. I was, you know, in online communities, Discord freestyle servers, and like going to street ciphers in New York. I was living in New York at the time. You know, we go to Washington Square Park, put a little speaker in a bucket, roll through 20 deep, you know, one camera, and we're just passing the mic around. But the parallels that I see between sales and rap is, you know, two main things, right? One, you got to put yourself out there. When it comes to sales, when it comes to hip hop, there is that feeling of you know, you got to be a bit adventurous, right? You got to take some risks, because otherwise you never drop, right? And otherwise you'll never make that call. And the second part is the ability to think on the fly and adapt. All right, and I've found that to be very helpful when I was making cold calls and also in person at conferences, face to face with clients. It's a lot like freestyling, because, you know, when you freestyle, you don't really know what you're gonna say 2-3 lines ahead of you, right? And it's the same thing on a cold call. You got to adapt, you got to pivot, you got to make the topic about who you're talking to, you know, because if you go, you know, let's say you're at an underwear convention, and you're talking about, I don't know, hot Cheetos, right? Like, no one's gonna care. They're like, we're at a underwear convention. Why you rapping about hot Cheetos? But then you start rapping about underwear. Like, look at this nylon and spandex blend. Yeah. They're like, yo, that is tailored messaging for me, right? And so that's one thing I learned from rap. And I'll throw one more in there, right? Is any type of music writing or poetry, it leaves you with a great foundation of writing skills. So, you know, even as a video producer, as an agency owner and rapper, I still think copy is one of the most foundational, important pieces of marketing, right? And I think just having gone through so many scripts, versus laid a really great foundation for me to go into sales, start writing email copy, you know, transition to marketing, start writing copy for social, scripting, storyboarding, all that, the whole nine.
I think it's so interesting you say social, and even kicking it back to MySpace. But to me, it seems like so many B2B companies and just B2B marketers forget the social aspect of social media. So they make a lot of content that's like to appease the CEO or to just check off their line item, like, okay, we're doing content, but they forget that a lot of this stuff is supposed to be social, it's supposed to be shareable, it's supposed to be relatable, and a lot of the content. That's why you said earlier B2B is boring, and it most likely will forever be boring in some aspect of it. And to me, it's so crazy that a lot of people are not willing to step out there and create some content. Number one, they're not listening to their audience, in my opinion. They're kind of creating things that make the company look good, that helps the CEO feel better about himself most of the time. And then secondly, they just, I don't know, they don't have a blueprint. So the focus of this episode, and me and Ding talked about it, the name of it, but it's just a new way to do B2B events / content. Well, we might add that in there. But yeah, so I know me and you were talking about what is actually differentiated content. So like, how would you explain it, and what should people be looking for in differentiated content?
Yeah, I think the word differentiated is interesting, right? Because it's a comparative word. So for something to be differentiated, you have to look at what's existing out there, right? If you want to break the pattern, if you want to stand out and be different, you have to be different than something else. So if we look around at what B2B content has been historically, right, it doesn't even really look like, you know, when I say the word content, like a very specific image is going to pop up in a lot of people's minds, right? Mm-hmm. But traditionally, B2B content has been white papers, guides, ebooks, right? Usually gated. Give me your email. Our SDRs are going to spam the shit out of you, right? It's at times valuable, but like Isaiah, like you were saying, you know, some of a good portion of it is look how great our company is, right? Look at this data set that's skewed to make us look like we're really important. And this problem is huge and major, right? Where content has gone, and especially if you look at the B2C side, right? Where content has gone is entertaining. It's hyper engaging. It has a very big focus on pacing, and then it's also very reactive and adaptive to audience feedback. And I think that's been something that the B2B space has been slower on, right, relative to everything else.
So like, okay, so with that, because I'm just curious, right? Because we've seen obviously the hell of a lot of content, shit ton of content, right? Which one do you think would be more important, right? This is just like if you're talking to a company, the average B2B, like you said, a white paper is probably gated. Do you think it's more so the content itself or the actual packaging along with the content?
I think they serve different purposes. And, I want to clarify, this is not me shitting on white papers and ebooks and resource content, right?
Some companies should actually use those, especially if it works for you. Obviously can't tell you not to use it.
Yeah, that stuff is still important, and but I think what a lot of companies get wrong is they have an either or mindset to it.
Yeah.
It should be a both.
Mm-hmm.
You should be doing both. And when I think of Chalique, your question was the substance or the presentation, right? I think the substance is non-negotiable when it comes to specifically B2B content. And the reality is we're people will scroll TikTok or YouTube and they'll watch content, right? Or they'll go on Netflix and they'll watch shows to be entertained. I doubt very many people go on LinkedIn and is like, yo, let me get my daily dose of entertainment.
Yeah.
Although if you're in the game and the space, it can be pretty fun because there's some fun drama that happens sometimes in the B2B world.
Hashtag current CEO.
But
My bad.
No, seriously.
But the important thing is like people go on to LinkedIn, they see it as a resource, or even beyond LinkedIn, right? The B2B pockets on Twitter or dark social, that's a big term these past few years, right? People don't go into Slack communities to be like, let me get my quick hit of dopamine. Like people are trying to level up in some way, whether that's get better at doing their jobs, growing their companies, or maybe they're looking for different opportunities, they're looking for clients.
Yeah.
So at the foundational level of B2B content, you definitely need a certain level of business value, right? And that's the whole thing. You look at it from a sales standpoint. Like you can make the best cold call, be super personable, but like if you're just looking to shoot the shit, you're probably not going to book a meeting, right? So that's the second piece is the problem with overly focusing on the business value is that stuff by itself is not very engaging, right? And that's where you run into a problem of like people have the content production process really buttoned up, right? But the distribution flops because like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to read your 2,500 word blog article about an overly technical thing that doesn't really pertain to me that much, right? So it's two sides of the coin. I think, you got to think of it like a funnel, right? A reverse triangle, right? Is at the top, the closer you are to the top of funnel, the more general overall and entertainment focused you can be, and the more you get down funnel, the more specific business problem solution related the content should be, right? Because you have to earn the buy-in, earn the brand recognition through something that's more entertaining, up top, but then it doesn't matter as much if it's like super cool once you get a bit deeper in the funnel and they've already expressed a good fit or some type of interest.
Yeah, I agree. Because to me, packaging, in my opinion, is becoming more and more important as we see B2B companies launch their webinars and podcasts. Because as me and you were talking yesterday, you don't want to go from just being on Zoom calls all day to going on LinkedIn and seeing the exact same style of quality as somebody's doing their webinar or podcast on Zoom or something, or like Google Meets, and it's that same quality. It's a little traumatizing for some people, especially if they just got out of a bad meeting. So if somebody wants to come onto LinkedIn and get a quote unquote Netflix style quality and presentation, I think that's the disruption that we can, and that's why we're here in the studio with 4K cameras, is because we noticed that we want to break up the pattern recognition. It's not that many people investing this heavily into the quality of content. Of course, we got the context. We have a whole nother podcast called Revenue Bites.
Yeah.
I'm be honest, the social posts that I get, Revenue Bites does not get that much engagement.
Yeah.
But as soon as I post something from the A2B series with the lights and the cameras, the engagement goes up. So there is a big aspect, in my opinion, that companies should not stay at the bare basics and bare minimum of just doing good context and just having good like business information. But the presentation, like you said, the distribution needs to be just as important to put an emphasis on it. Like the more that you put an emphasis on it, I think the more of the differentiation aspect can come of it. Because at the end of the day, most of the products and services, especially in SaaS, I hate to say it, but you're not offering anything that's revolutionary. It's a commodity at this point.
Yep.
And so if you want to really differentiate yourself, to me, content and like the production value, like you have to win on brand more so than anything else. You can't always win on product. You're not going to be that revolutionary. What company A does, company B can copy. So what's going to make you different, to me, in my opinion, is going to be the brand play. And to me, content is the biggest thing right now. That's the biggest opportunity that companies have to make themselves different.
And it's crazy because I was thinking this the other day, which I think this is probably my first time actually saying it on camera. So listen closely, right? I feel like companies, like you just said, they never really focus. There's a lot of things with content that they don't focus on, or like you have like CEOs or like people in marketing, they'd be like, oh, it's a low conversion, or like they always prepare for the negatives. And it's like, I was thinking like, damn, how many people actually prepare for it to be positive? Like, what happens if this actually does work? What happens if people actually see your content? And they see it and it's like, oh, well, that company, like, like their content's not, like, can you imagine how many people actually see a company's content and be like, their content's not that good? Or worse, they don't even think about it. That's the worst thing, is that they don't even think about you. They see your content, they just keep scrolling. It's like, well, damn. Well, now you're going to have a low conversion because nobody even cares about your content after they've seen it. It's not even like rememberable. And so I feel like a lot of companies should focus on that. Like, what happens if it does work? Are you prepared for it? Are you like the whatever you shared out there on LinkedIn or to the world, if people do see it, are you happy with what they just seen? And I think that's a question a lot of people don't answer.
Here's the issue, and Ding, I think you I think you're going to agree, and I would love to hear you spill on it. Again, going back to the whole social thing, companies forget what social means. Like, they're so focused on using and leveraging social primarily to get conversions, that's the North Star at the end of the day. But when you use the platform within its context, the whole purpose of social is for consumption. Create content to be consumed. So you wonder why you have low conversion rates down funnels, because you can't get the engagement and the attention at the top of the funnel in the first place. So you're creating content to scratch it off your line item and say we're doing content because everyone else is doing it, but it doesn't affect pipeline, it doesn't affect ROI, because the way you're approaching it is completely wrong. You're approaching it from a sales aspect of it, like how do we get more sales, instead of how do we add more value to our community, how do we push them along in their career, so that when it's time for that moment of truth, for when they need to select a product to solve that solution, we're top of mind because we were the ones that fed them all this information.
And that moment can happen anytime. And actually, this would be a good segue into events, because it happened to us. You probably don't remember. I think it was last year at SaaStock. It was definitely me. You was just with me. I get these ads all the time. There was a company, and their content was really good as far as looks. It looked great. But when I seen them in person at their booth, they offered what I thought they did payroll. And then when I seen them, they don't even do payroll. It's like, well, what did you send me? Like, what ad did you send me from to think you guys did payroll? Oh yeah, we do like HR stuff. We do like employee benefits. So you don't do payroll? No, we don't do payroll. Well, the ad I got said you guys did payroll. And so I think like you said, people don't think about it being consumed, and so that transitions further down the funnel. So obviously you're an expert when it comes to things like that.
Yeah. So two thoughts based on what we just talked about, and then we'll transition to events. So one piece, Isaiah loved the call out about brand and community, is there's this misconception, I think, in B2B where people are like, oh, we have sales reps, they're gonna reach out, right? The reality is your competitor has sales reps too, right? And they're probably pretty good, or not. Maybe I don't know your company, but the thing with the brand in Chile, you're talking about, companies will make content to check that box, right? And they're like, okay, this is. Our investors say we need content. Like, this is the best practice. All right, bet we'll do a little content, kind of half-ass it, right? Expect it to flop because that's traditionally B2B content. It doesn't always work for certain companies because they don't do it the right way, right? And they're like, all right, we checked the box. It's out there. All right, sales reps, we'll go hire more SDRs. Let's go. Let's go hit the phones, guys. And I think it's really selling the potential of that short. I think a great example to bring in the community aspect is we always talk about how influencers, you have this what's called a parasocial relationship with your audience, right? Like, they feel like they know you because you're showing them aspects of, as an influencer, they're showing aspects of their life, right? They're being vulnerable or authentic in a sense. The playbook isn't the exact same way for B2B companies. It's usually more value-driven, awareness-driven, problem-driven, right? But the most successful B2B content motions that I've seen aren't just about here's our product, here's how great it is, or here's the problem, here's how bad it is, and here's a solution, here's how awesome it is at solving that problem. It's more about here's a persona that usually interacts with our product, right? We build a community of people in that persona, in that role. And all of, most people, I'd imagine B2B aren't trying to be stagnant and suck at their jobs, right? They're trying to level up and get better. So it goes beyond just, let's say you're selling a tool to sales, and your primary decision maker is like a CRO, VP of sales, and then your end user is like a AE manager, right? And it's like you can kind of stratify that. We know that maybe your tool is, I don't know, like AI for automated outreach, right? The companies that are successful in that space, the content, it's not just here's AI, how AI is so great and amazing, and we can make your outreach awesome. It's like in general, they'll be talking about email deliverability, right? They'll be talking about stuff that their product doesn't even necessarily solve for, but it's extremely valuable to the end user or the decision maker, right? Of, here's other ways holistically how y'all can all excel in your roles, right? And then you build that familiarity and the brand credibility. It's like, okay, this brand stands for helping this persona do their jobs better, right? And then you, when you come in with your ask, when you come in with your own product, you have more of that credibility. Overused example, but Gong, what Devin Reed did with Gong Labs back in the day, right? Great example of that. It wasn't just talking about how great Gong is and call monitoring and whatnot. It's like, here's just outbound sales, like in general. Here's B2B sales, how everyone can level up beyond just call recording. Right.
Dude, what changed my perspective on content? So, side note, I have Nick Tippmann's book from when he was the CMO of Greenlight Guru. So I have that whole notebook from his 2017, 2018 run. So Nick, I still have your notebook. But he has something in there that he wrote, I think in 2017, that he wrote down. The whole purpose of content isn't to just manufacture content, it's to manufacture journeys. And the great example of that is HubSpot. They take you from a traditional marketer to an inbound marketer. So to me, that's how content works, when there's an actual transformation in a journey and an end goal for them to become. Because now HubSpot wants to attract the inbound marketers. It goes back to our original marketing philosophy that we came up with back in 2020, which is build your next customer. Mm-hmm. That's what content does, is build your next customer. So if you think about the statistic that's out there that 97% of the market isn't in, 97% of buyers are not in market at any given time. Well, you can help that out with content by transforming them into your next customer. And it helps the whole sales process. And the thing that I do want to segue into something you were talking about was content distribution within an account versus top of funnel only content. Like, that's where you kind of come in for a lot of companies, is when they're doing ABM and they need to get very specific account specific content. So I'd like for you to kind of go into that a bit more.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting thing that I found, is that a lot of folks have it backwards when it comes to, like, hey, let's spend a lot of production and effort, at the generalized top of funnel level, and then kind of drop the ball a little bit, or get a little lazier, or kind of just over rely on rep follow-ups, at the account level, especially when someone is interested, you've identified a good fit, you have internal champions that are influencing at the company. Then what is you have the best distribution point that you can, because with any type of content, the ultimate goal is you wanted to get it in front of the right people, right? And for a lot of cases, if you are building a business case internally, you have a strong champion that is a coworker of the folks, the stakeholders that you're trying to bubble the issue up to and make a priority for them, right? A lot of folks don't use content enough, leveraging that situation. Because to again tie it back to distribution, if you create something, a lot of companies still operate at the recap email level, right? Like, hey, let me summarize these meeting notes, send it to you. Can you forward this to so and so in your organization? And then we'll all come back for a meeting. It's like, fuck no, you're not going to get a meeting off of that, right?
It's not gonna happen.
And what we found is I do this thing. It's called musical ABM. So I make a personalized song, at the account level, taking in context from reps that are working the deal, taking in context, CRM notes, all that, and building that business case, translating that into an entertaining engagement piece of content. So then you can either outbound within the account to multi-thread, or you can use your champion as a distribution point, right? And say, instead of saying like, hey, can we get a next step in a meeting? You're going like, hey, we like your company. We made a song about you. Oh, we shouted out your boss, right? And then boom, now you have 400 views within a buyer organization, right? And suddenly you got a next steps on the calendar.
So how does that work? Just so they understand a little more about it. So companies come to you and say, hey, we need you to make this song for this account. Yeah. And you make the song. They take the song, send it to whether it's a point of contact, or they can even run ads on it, right? And just target people within the company. I'm pretty sure that sounds like, something that's pretty effective,
So the way the play works is, in full transparency, right? You do this one time with one account. It may or may not work, right? And it's not a silver bullet. Mm-hmm. It's not a magic potion. There's a lot of terms like that. Forever. Yeah. We love our B2B terms. We're out here boiling oceans and stuff. Yeah. Right. The most strategic way to do a play like this is, most companies will have a tiering system for accounts, right? So you take your tier 1 accounts, and then you identify the ones where you've had some traction internally. The ones that there's a good fit, because it doesn't make sense to expend this effort and put the resources towards something that, hey, this might not be a good fit. Even if we get the right messaging in front of the right audience, right people, they might not really give a shit. So it's very strategic leading up to it. And then, you might select, let's say 15 to 25 accounts, right? That you have some type of side door or contact with, and then context, knowledge of what's going on inside that company, why you're a good fit. And then instead of delivering that message in a traditional format, mm-hmm. You add some music, you add some video production, right? That's the difference between, some CXO out there getting an email, forwarded in a chain of 12 back and forth. And they're like, damn, I don't got time for this. Yeah. Versus here's a Slack message. Oh, here's someone made a music video about you, and then there's a screenshot of their face, imposed on some funny background. Right? We're all, and that's the thing is B2B is just marketing to humans that work at companies.
Yeah.
Right. So you do something that'll stand out to a person, and you have the right business proposal, value, etc. behind that, and it's the convergence of the two that makes this work.
So do you, and as far as like, so if I'm a company, right, what signals would you recommend me to have before I even get that far into like, getting a video made for a certain, like, is it point of contact, or is it like more so just, because every company has different buying signals. But like, have you seen any trends like, hey, like, well, once you get to this point is a good point, or this point is a little too early? Like, what do you recommend?
Yeah. So a big misconception is, this stuff works. And this stuff still works, at a completely cold account, right? Because then you outbound a bunch of people where you're like, we made a song about you, and then at least one of the people are gonna watch it and be like, okay, But at that point, because you don't have enough evidence, right, to say that this is gonna be worth it for us to run this play. So I'm always about scientific method, right? You got to have some type of demonstrable level of potential fit before you choose that account, and what that might look like is, the maybe an internal champion has seen, or an end user of the product that's maybe they're not the one signing off on the deal, or maybe they're one person on a committee of 6 people that you need buy-in from. They're fans. They like your product. They're like, hey, I have a problem. This is going to help me out, right? Mm-hmm. But maybe you need a manufacturer budget, right? And you're going to need buy-in from 5 other people. It's at that point you're having trouble going from one person, they're like internally, hey, we should make this a priority. Like, can you come sit in on this demo? And the other people are like, we have too much going on. We can't spend money on this. I don't give a shit. Right.
Yeah.
At that point, that's when a higher effort play into the account level would be more effective. Because you already have, again, going back to that distribution point, you have a champion internally. You're not just firing videos or content off into the ether, right? You know that there's this people. And then also from a research standpoint, like, you have a good idea of the org chart, right? Who are the people? Because if we're going to personalize and then we're going to, not just by name and saying, like shout out to this person, put the face on there, but also personalize to their job function, right? What KPIs do they care about? What does success mean for them in their role, right? That's also part of the messaging. So it's really 80-20 rule, right? I almost said 90, 90-20.
Yeah, 90-20.
Because we give 110 every time.
Yeah.
80-20 rule, it's 80% of is the strategy, the account selection, the research, the preparation, and mapping it out cleanly. 20% of it is the actual production.
Dude, I'm glad we're talking about it, because to me that's like content's becoming more of the glue that's putting the go-to-market team together, and that's why it's important for this whole narrative of like leads being the North Star for marketing to change, because they think that once they get somebody into the pipeline that the game is over, that they've won, when that's when the real work actually begins and the heavy lifting begins. And it's difficult for sales team. I mean, sales is supposed to sell, not market. But when you bring the two together, that's when the creativity really sparks. And that's what's going to help with pipeline activation, is marketing not dropping the ball after someone shows up in your CRM, after someone shows up as a lead, but actually knowing that there is more effort. Like, they put 100% of their effort in the top of funnel and then no effort into middle of funnel and bottom of funnel. And that's why, in my opinion, a lot of the sales cycles take that long. Yeah. Because like you were saying, no one wants to go back and forth on an email thread for the next 3 months. It gets boring. Do something again to garner their attention. It's not their problem for you to move this deal quicker. It's your responsibility to keep them interested, keep them engaged, keep moving this deal forward. And the more companies can focus on that middle of funnel and bottom of funnel content, and the more marketing and sales can come together and be the ones that execute on that, the better results and better ROI you'll see. But it really starts with nailing content and changing your overall philosophy of what marketing actually is. It's not just top of funnel demand stuff, but it's actually stuff that helps sales and activates and enables sales to move deals forward and get you more money.
Yeah. Yeah. It's honestly, I think that's where a lot of FOMO should be. As far as like, you should want to do those things now, because a lot of people aren't doing them. So I would think it would be easy for you to do. And because you probably dealt with this before, companies probably feel like they don't have money to make good content, which is crazy to me. But I feel like good content is what is going to separate you, right? And so being that there's a lot of companies that's not doing it, you should be the one to be like, well, before these other companies start making better content than us, if they're not already, we should start making better content. And that starts with doing, different tactics, like, making a song and sending it to an account.
Yeah, that's a very, even a narrow view of that, right? I think we zoom out a bit, and it's the overall philosophy of putting forth more effort, beyond the top of funnel. It doesn't even necessarily have to be just content, right? And I think to segue into events,
yes,
it's a wonderful way for companies. And the companies I know that are running a very strategic events playbook, they're seeing a lot of success. And oftentimes that doesn't even look like, let's go sponsor a booth at a trade show. That's right. Some of the companies that are getting the most out of a conference are the ones that are like, all right, like, fuck the conference. I'm not trying to, drop 120, on a booth. Let's take that money. Let's rent out the bar across the street, right? Let's set up some cameras there. Let's have our customers, prospects, we're not all kind of converge in that space, create this community aspect, take it beyond the transactional feeling of what B2B has been, right? And then that's where, because what do they say? Humans buy with emotion and justify with logic.
Yeah.
Right. So how are we winning hearts and minds? Probably not through a million phone and email follow-ups.
Yeah, there's a company that we worked with last year. It's a very suit and tie industry, And they go to this conference every year, and their biggest thing is their happy hour.
Yep.
Because it's very not like suit and tie at all. But that's something people remember every year, and it's the biggest happy hour every year because they do it so differently compared to other companies that are just, again, they're kind of just very dependent on those traditional things.
Dude, and Ding gave me this term. I did not have a term for it, but Ding called it a dedicated content creation station. I think that's what we call it, or dedicated content capture station. Instead of spending $120,000 on a booth at a trade show to get leads that are never going to convert, why don't you invest that same amount into creating experiences for leads to walk away with a piece of your content? Like, going back to this whole thing about why brand is so important, people want to be a part of a community. We're selling to humans. People want to be a part of something. And if you can create an experience at every trade show, like, to me, Chili Piper does a great job of it. I believe his name was Arthur, was doing the interviews with different people. That gave us the idea to start doing that at different events, because you run that playbook, you find the person that you want to kind of get in contact with to get a deal, you ask them, you make them look good, make them look like the thought leader, they walk away with the piece of content, you post it on LinkedIn, now this whole network effect happens. Yeah. And to me, that's a much better use of, you don't have to spend $120,000, you just need tickets and someone who's good at video to run that playbook, and you're going to be leagues ahead of anybody who's running the traditional trade show booth playbook, and they're never going to see ROI from it. To me, a lot of the wasted spend outside of digital advertising comes from trade shows because they're running a very old and outdated playbook.
Yep. I mean, the reality is you look at the game, right? The companies that put on events, right? And I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but they're in the business of making money, right? They have teams that they have to pay. Right. So the priority of people who are putting on large scale conferences, at the end of the day, you have to deliver a certain amount of value for your sponsors, but they still have to make money. Right. And that's why I'm a big fan of owned events playbooks. Right. Or we're kind of latching on to existing events, and South by is coming to Austin soon, right? We're about to see a lot of companies blow a ton of budget on sponsorships. Yep. That they're probably not going to get a direct ROI from that, and that's great. If you're an enterprise company and you have millions and millions to spend on this, you should be doing that. That's a brand play. But if you're an earlier stage company, that's not the best way to stretch out your budget and get the highest amount of ROI, and to kind of shout out Arthur, shout out to Chili Piper, big fan of those folks over there. But one of the cool things about doing a play like that is, even beyond the content creation that you get from it, is it's twofold. So one is you create a piece of original content that features the person that you're featuring in the video, right? And that creates a very organic, specific, and differentiated touch point in a follow-up conversation. A lot of folks, one of the reasons why event spend has such bad ROI is people come to your event, they'll have 3 free drinks, they get their badge scan, and then they fuck off and you never see them again. Yep. Right? When you capture them on video and then you follow up, because in reality in B2B, like at this point, especially on the marketing side, the go-to-market side, most people have a baseline understanding of the game has changed, content is king. We gotta build personal, company, professional brands, all that good stuff, right? So when you offer someone, hey, here's a camera, here's a 4K camera, it looks great, right? And this, this is one reason I'm sitting here right now. I turn down podcasts all the time. I mean, y'all are cool,
Yeah,
I
for sure,
you guys
for sure.
In general.
Yeah.
So I'll do a Zoom interview with y'all, but you go to a regular event and the follow up is weak. Yeah. Right. Hey, we had a conversation about can I get 30 minutes of your time? It's like, fuck out of here.
No, serious. And it's like, because again, when we did that last year. Yes. Because not only are you getting content, you're getting customer insights as well. How do people really feel about what you're trying to sell them? Or you don't have to sell them. You can just ask them questions pertaining to what you're trying to sell, and then they give you answers that you didn't expect. It's like, well, now you have more information to use or to not use when you're selling them. And then that's the best follow up that I got to go in and check. So don't fact check me. But my best posts on LinkedIn are with people from conferences.
Yep.
And I'll just share it like, hey, like
Yeah.
I met so-and-so today at the conference, even though I was trying to like spam them months before.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I finally see you at a conference like, hey, I remember you spammed me 30 times, but you're here now. Let's sit here and talk. And then now you know what I offer. Now I know you don't care about what I'm offering. Either I can stop talking to you or, best case, now you know what I offer and now you want what I'm actually trying to offer. That's ROI that we get from a conference.
It's that philosophy of like a lot of the Zoom like style podcast interviews, right? It's an acquisition play, right? The guard is down when I'm interviewing you, I'm asking you questions, so they feel like, hey, I'm part of this programming, I'm part of this content, not that I'm a prospect that's being sold to, right? So it gives you this space to do some baseline level discovery and ascertain, you know, is there a fit, is there worth a follow up conversation, like you're saying, but what a lot of people don't realize is you can do that in person as well. Right. And it's more powerful because you could do that at scale at one event. You're not scheduling a bunch of different guests for your podcast. And then there's that follow up work of like, oh, I get my show notes and all that in the release. It's like, no, you're at this event. There's a lot of people from a specific demographic or persona that you already know, is kind of that lookalike fit. And then you can do it, many times at one event. And it doesn't feel like you're selling people.
You can actually believe it or not, you can actually fill up your pipeline if you do events the right way. Like you actually can. You may get overwhelmed with it, which is obviously a good thing. So with that, give them like three tips. Like, what are 3 things you live by going to conferences?
Yep. So I didn't prepare for this one. So 3 here. Let me do the Mr. Beast.
Yeah. I'm going to give you 3 pieces of content. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Here's 3 non-negotiable things that you must go into every content. They're editors. Okay, so number 1 is preparation. And what that looks like is beyond just, I got to get my camera equipment, my lighting, and my microphones and all that. That's non-negotiable, especially for a lot of B2B companies that don't have an existing function internally. Go partner with someone that knows what they're doing, right? Save the time and the headache, so you can focus on what matters, which is having great conversations with people in the market. And what that often looks like is people try to wing it when they go to conferences and when they shoot content. They're like, it's like, no, you need to have a specific list of questions typed out beforehand, printed out, put stickied on your phone, what have you, right? So you're ready to just go in, bing, 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 right? Number 2 also pertains to preparation. Is if it's an owned event, you're going to have a guest list, right? You're going to know people that, and you could strategically think about, all right, there's 100 people that are going to be at our event tonight. We can't interview all 100 people. I could be more strategic and maybe even do some outreach beforehand. We're filming a show at our event tonight. We want to feature you, right? Don't even make it like, oh, we want to interview you and just like, hey, we want to highlight you. And shoot some content for you that you can use, right? And because people are they're savvy to the game, they're hip to the game now. They're like, oh yeah, content's good. Oh, I don't have to bring my camera crew. I don't gotta. You guys are handling all that. Oh, cool, that's value for me, right? They're more bought in beforehand, and then that's how you maximize your time, right? Instead of wasting time going around, hey, can I get you on camera? Can I do all that? It's like, no, at this time, this person's ready, right? Come in, boom, boom, boom. And then you can be strategic with that, because the other benefit of content at events is you extend the ROI longevity from an event, right? Is you have all your subject matter experts, your team, your executives, people that you want to highlight internally, thought leaders, right? Then you have users, you have prospects, and you have partners all together in one place, right? And to bring it back to what we were talking about earlier, like, yeah, I mean, everyone's online, everyone can hop on a Zoom call, but like, no one's trying to watch that, right? So we have this opportunity to create content that feels personal and human, like we're here in person, I can touch you right now, right? But you're doing that with all the folks that are in your content ecosystem, and then 3 months later, after the event, right, you're still able to schedule posts out from that event, right, about relevant topics for your industry. And to even add another layer on top of that, if you're strategic with your attendees, you know X person has their own following and audience. You create a beautiful piece of content for them, no ask, right? You just say, hey, and maybe even take off the branding, your company branding, right? Here's this thing we made for you, right? And you'd be strategic, like the content subject matter might tangentially have something to do with your product, your company, or your solution, right? But then all you're doing is you're offering, here's a free piece of great content that's well produced, well thought out, and all they have to do is take it and post it. Chances are they're going to post it because everyone always wants more content and good content to post. And now suddenly you have different distribution points for your content as well, right? And that's traditionally they call it earned media.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, how do you do earned media for B2B? Strategic event content.
Dude, I love it.
So one is preparation.
Yeah. So okay, preparation of the material, preparation of like the guests, I guess, people, right? Who you want to be on camera with.
You gotta know your audience before you even go to the event. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the third one is, I guess I didn't really say it earlier, but editing is really important.
And so actually, because this is something that we spoke about in an episode of Revenue Bites. You can do this without the company's permission. Actually, you don't need because I feel like people feel like they need buy-in from the entire C-suite. You don't. If you're at a really big company, you can do this. I guarantee if you show your company, they're not going to be like, nah, you know what I'm saying? I mean, unless it's really bad, then yeah. But if you do it, I'm pretty sure you might get a promotion for it or something. Go to your company and be like, yeah, like, hey, I went to this conference or our event and we interviewed 20 customers or 20 potentials.
Not like
it's probably gonna work out for
like
you.
If you're going full boot gang at events, like that's probably not gonna work out for you, right? But you keep it professional, and that's the thing is going back to like 2008, right? Like people overthink this stuff all the time. Is depending on where you're at with building out the motion, right? The lifts is gonna look different. Like obviously, the better your playbook, the better the result most of the time. That doesn't mean that you can't start small with it, right? Everyone's got a smartphone. Guess what? Your smartphone records in 4K.
Yeah.
You can get a $20 wireless microphone off Amazon, right? And just do the little baby mic.
Or that's where you have Event Shark to help with that, right?
Yes.
Shout out to Event Shark.
Yeah.
There you go. Didn't want to self-plug too hard. But so that's, for companies that are a bit more mature, right? That, hey, like, our brand's important. We don't want to show up with content that looks shitty that might affect people's perception, right? It's a prestige, it's a cachet thing. That's where, you do want to link up with professionals, right? Like we're here doing a podcast, in a studio space, right? If I wanted to set it up, because I'm in this game, I could set up a good thing for us, but like, that's why we're not doing it on Zoom, right? Yeah. We're not like chilling in Starbucks with the camera on the table. Right, so there's levels to the game, but that doesn't mean you have to self-exclude. And I love that call out, man.
Yeah, like because as we wrap it up, actually, I actually want you to really do a small deep dive, which is kind of a contradictory, but a small deep dive of really like what Event Shark is for people that don't know.
Yeah, for sure. So Event Shark is a full-service video marketing agency, specializing in B2B and specializing in turning an event into a quarter's worth of content. So what does that mean specifically? Going back to before, right, we had the 80-20 rule. A lot of companies go into events without a very specific plan of what we're going to shoot, right? Because it can get overwhelming. If you're doing it for the first time, you're trying to shoot stuff on phones because everyone's talking, everyone's having conversations, right? So how do we get people from point A to point B at the event? So a lot of it is the preparation work, right? Having conversations about learning, and this is something I picked up from Sales Rap. Is every time I rap about a new company, I gotta learn the industry, right? So I become an expert in learning new industries, new problems, new solutions, new personas, right? So it's important to lay all of that out beforehand. Come in with the strategy. Here's what prompts we're doing. Here's different swim lanes of content, right? You might have man on the street style interview content. You might have more podcast, mobile, talking head, podcast booth style content. You can have some challenges, right? I know some companies have done some hot sauce stuff,
So for a company, for those that are like interested in everything that we spoke about in this podcast, how soon in advance should they go out and get like an Event Shark? Is it like maybe, I'm assuming not after when like the event has already happened, but is it like 3 months beforehand, or does it depend on the actual size?
It depends. I think we're pretty flexible when it comes to that. Like we've done some events on like a week or two's notice, and that's tough because you're not maximizing the potential of what you can do with content in that event. But I would say a 2-month lead up time is around ideal. Like a lot of our South by engagements in the next few weeks, we're having conversations in December and January, right? And then that gives the client company, enough time to prepare and say, here's our guest list. Here's who we have from our ecosystem that's attending. Oh, we have a customer here, right? Maybe we take out some dedicated time and prioritize a testimonial video, right? And there's a lot of different, because content is so broad, right? And once you have a good idea with the preparation of what we're going into, then you come out with a very specific playbook. Here's what we're going to capture. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's who's involved, and then here's the way that we're gonna in post production, turn the raw footage into actual usable content.
So
you ready?
Of course.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's time.
Okay. If we can get a drum roll, let's just insert here. If we can't, let's just. Okay.
Y'all getting bars today.
That's enough. Yeah.
Straight bars.
So today we get bars.
Why you say it like that?
Cause obviously I'm not ready for it. So this is like on the fly.
This is 8 months in the making. He's still freestyling.
As you can see, when the camera cuts, he walks around with his speaker. So if you ever see Ding at South by, stop him, tell him, hey, freestyle for me about my company that you probably never heard of.
It probably won't be for free. It won't be for free because his bars are really.
He'll have like a can there
fire.
to like drop a donation of some sorts, or just call Isaiah. Isaiah will just cash out him or something.
Yeah, okay. I'll drop it. I'd send him Bitcoin or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'm Stripe enabled.
Okay, so what's about to happen is he's going to freestyle. What kind of freestyle are we doing? This is just.
Is it gonna be the new Evron intro? Who knows?
Nah, y'all getting the real studio experience for the Evron intro.
Oh snap! Oh, you heard
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
Like Chalique was saying, you catch me on the street South by, might not be free. Freestyle might be free, but the songs, like that's for friends and family.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
y'all gonna get an anthem.
That means everybody heard it. No invoice being sent 2 days later.
We should probably do this now before a certain someone finds Ding and uses it before we do. I'm not gonna say any names.
I wanna hear this one. Is it working?
Man, I think the battery might be dead.
It's all good. We got an iPhone. We improvising.
You have an iPhone.
I do have an iPhone. Yeah, you don't have it. By the way, Chalique no longer has an iPhone. He switched over to Android. I thought that was an important thing to say.
Okay, I didn't switch over.
Next time,
editor, clip that.
Next time he posts on LinkedIn, I need everybody in the comments to shame him and laugh and say, "Hi, you have an Android." Thank you. You feel bad?
Oh, let's go.
Oh, there we go.
Oh,
all right.
On 100, he lied. He was trying to get out of it. The battery's on 100.
Yo.
He's trying to get out of it.
Yeah, as you can see, we're very unscripted right now. I love it though.
Yeah, this is the best part of the.
It really
Actually,
is.
let's put this in the beginning so everybody knows that this is very unscripted. Jeez, man.
All right, man.
Should we do another drum roll
Here, wait.
or just
Hold on.
insert drum roll here?
I think we'll just insert the drum roll. I'll steal it off of YouTube. Hopefully, we don't get copyrighted. We'll see. You know how YouTube is.
Hopefully.
There we go.
There we go. That's good.
Yeah.
All right. What kind of beat we looking for? Some more old school, some more.
Hey,
new?
you just.
We're
throw it
following
on,
you.
yeah.
You the sales rapper.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
you
I'm the
throw it
sales
on.
rapper. All right, let's start off with some.
We should get 10 clients just off of this one podcast right here.
You heard that?
That's
I
conservative.
don't know who wants to be the 10, but
Yeah.
we got room for 10.
All right, so to make this a little more fun, y'all, I want you to give me 10 words. I want to use
man.
them all
Okay.
to prove this is a freestyle, because a lot of people will be like, "Oh man, Ding, you're scripted."
Okay, yeah, that's true. Okay.
Then again, to be fair, since this is a recorded podcast, this could still be scripted.
Yeah.
But it's not. You gotta take my word for it.
Okay, let's do 10.
Yeah.
Okay, Evron has to be 1.
Yeah, of course.
Let's
Business,
do
All right.
business,
marketing,
go to market,
Okay.
sales,
podcast, yeah, sales,
Sales.
Austin.
Podcast. Okay.
Austin, events,
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
and what else we talking
Content.
about? Content, yeah.
Content? All right.
How many is that?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 9.
One more. Give me another one.
Ding.
Ding.
Yeah.
right.
Actually, you know what? To make it harder, it's not scripted. Let's do 11. Let's throw studio in there as well.
Studio.
Yeah.
Shout out
Ooh.
Pouch 6.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out
Pouch
Pouch
6.
All right, let's do it. Hopefully this picks up on the microphone. I'm gonna have to hold it up here.
If not, just send us the beat. We'll roll it over.
Yeah.
There we go. This is the first freestyle at Pouch 6. Sacco, you seeing this right here? Hey man, follow the boys on LinkedIn. Follow Evron. Shout out to Evron, man. Yeah. Who's now on? Who's next on? It's the companies that's working with Evron. Yeah. Freestyling, but it's the best song. Okay. And you know me, I'm an icon. Look. And I get busy with it. My business is witty with it. And I spit these lyrics. Look. What accounts are you targeting? Do you have the sales rapper to help with the marketing? Look. And I hit all my targets and let me get it started. I kill it, see the carcass. Look, and now we go in the market. Yeah, shout out to my cousin, no DeMarcus. Look, what I do it, I never fail. I'm about to close all the whales when I go ham with the sales. And my program is so swell. It's like a well, it's deep. Look, Radiohead, I had a creep. Look, it's all that. The shit, I'ma talk that. Especially when I'm on the A2B podcast. This hot rap that I'm dropping in Austin. Yeah, you better approach me with caution. Look, it gets intense when you be failing content at events. That's 2 words in 1 sentence. I ain't done with it. I'm about to come with it. So strong. Look, you hear that telephone ring. Yeah, on LinkedIn, you know that it's ding. Auto-tune on my vocals whenever I sing. Yeah, sit on the throne, crown on me, I'm the king. What I do, yeah, and it's beautiful. And we did a podcast at the studio. Yeah, how about it? Y'all dope with the outfits. Shout out to Evron and shout out to Pouch 6.
Yo, bars! Yo! Bars, yo!
Yeah.
That's insane. That was insane.
That was definitely not scripted at all. You have to throw in our faces because I
don't know what to say.
was amazed.
Yo, Yo.
So yeah, I would say so card or cash? How do you?
Nah, seriously.
Is it card or cash? How would you like to be paid for this? Jesus.
Yo.
Okay, well that's one hell of a way to wrap it up.
That is one way to wrap it up, bro.
That's what you did there.
See, yeah, put me in the studio.
Liquid Death, sponsor me.
Oh, yeah. Where's mine at? I'll find it later.
No, I'm not drinking sparkling water. But
You're a hater, bro.
before we before this podcast takes too long, Isaiah has some closing words. Go ahead.
I do have some closing words. Last things I'll say, and has nothing to do with B2B or marketing. Cheesecake is the best dessert in the world, and chocolate chip cookies are disgusting. If you disagree with me, at me in the comments. See y'all next time.
Yeah, end the podcast.